Hi, I'm Mark. Welcome back to Foothill Paint Fabrication. Well, we're back on the hood for that 1950 Chevy truck, and today we're going to be finishing up the prep work underneath and getting some polyester primer sprayed. We've had some massive rains here for weeks and weeks, so the sun's finally come out and I can get some polyester primer sprayed. Really don't like to spray it when the humidity is too high. It really kind of affects that polyester, so it looks like we're going to have a good day, so let's get in here and get to work. Okay, let's take a look at what we need to take care of. Got a little bit of prep work. Now the owner, Darren, he did a fantastic job prepping this hood. Saves me a lot of labor. He really cleaned it really well, and I pressure washed this thing 2 or 3 times and scrubbed it, so I'm pretty confident it's clean down in all the nooks and crannies, but we still need to get the wire wheel in here, and I'll put that on the little air tool, and we'll get some of these corners and some of this other stuff. We'll get up underneath this lip really well. You remember on the last video, we prepped this lip and straightened it out, made it look really nice. And then we've got some kind of junk popping out from underneath here. It's right where this touches the sheet metal. I don't know if that was some sort of bonding adhesive from, when the truck was built. I don't know. Or it's just old grease and gunk that got crammed up in there and dried, but it's popping out. So I got to scrape all that out from underneath there. I'll just get a tool and break everything loose. It'll come loose. And then we'll get around all these screws and everything really nice. And then just finish sand everything, make sure everything's scuffed and cleaned. And then we get some primer on this thing. So let's get to it. Okay, to get that gunk out of there, I'm just going to use my windshield trim removal tool. I've had this thing forever, but it's got these little hooks and they're kind of curved up, so we can just get in here and just kind of, if you guys can see the junk coming out of there. And the reason I want to do this is because invariably, if you guys have done any spraying, you think it's clean. As soon as you start spraying, something pops out of a groove, and it's very frustrating. On primer, it's not the end of the world, but you're shooting clear top coats, it's very frustrating. So we're just going to kind of hook that up in there and get this clean all the way across. And I'm going to do both sides. We'll get that blown out really well, and then we're going to switch over. We got some runs over here and get that wire wheel going. So let me finish this up. We'll switch over to the wire wheel and then do a final sand, and I think we're about ready to spray. Okay, we're all done with that scraping, and I got quite a bit of junk out of there. And this is some sort of tar-based bonding adhesive or cushioning adhesive they put in there at the factory to keep this sheet metal from bouncing off of here and stabilize this the hood sheet metal. So we cannot replace it right now. I wouldn't feel comfortable even hanging this hood up right side up and then putting some sort of expanding or bonding adhesive in here or some sort of cushioning sealer to keep these from banging into each other and hold their shape, because I don't know the sheet metal would hold the shape properly. So after the hood is completely done, installed on the truck, what I'll probably do is I'll look into what we should use right here, and then we can actually mask this off, put it in there, and then close the hood and let the hood rest, because you guys know it rests right on that little weather strip or rubber strip on the cowl of the cab, and that will hold its shape. And then by shutting the hood and letting that just harden and set up where it's supposed to be, then the sheet metal will hold its shape properly to this brace, and then the cab will actually hold the sheet metal where it's supposed to be, and it will look nice. If I did it now, I mean, look, the gap here, I get my finger underneath there a little bit, right here it's tight. So I have no idea how it's supposed to look. So it's best to do it at the end, and we can mask it off and make it look nice and clean. This was black, so there'll be dark blue painted underneath here, so we can use some dark colored whatever we figure out, and that'll just have to come at a later date. It's the little things, guys, that make the paint job and the truck or car drivability that much nicer. So always look out for stuff like this and do the best you can. Okay, let's get the wire wheel in here. Now, I just use the cheapy ones from Harbor Freight. They actually make these wire wheels that can take the speed of one of these air tools. So I just try to reduce the speed. I don't spin this thing up as much as it'll go, because this thing will just fly apart. Make sure you got PPE on, guys. These things will stick right in your face. So we're going to take care of this run with the wire wheel. And the reason I'm not going to try to sand that out because it's a big blob, and I'll take it right down to the bare steel. A lot of times this old paint is kind of gooey and it doesn't sand well. And then we're just going to get up underneath the lip with this. I like to use this type. It's pretty versatile. You can get, flat and on the edge, but I have all of them. So we'll just use whatever works best to get down and make sure all this stuff is cleaned up real nice. We got one on the other side. I'm going to get up under along here and then around all this real quick to make sure everything's done real nice. Down inside these corners, you just can't get your hand in there with the sandpaper that well, so always try to hit all of them and just to make sure they're deburred and cleaned up as best as possible so we have a good adhesion by the primer. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. I'll bring you back. We'll clean it off, take a look at it. We'll get some sanding done by hand and then spray some primer. Okay, we got everything wire wheeled pretty good. You guys can tell that thing didn't hold up very well, fell apart. I got most of the wires laying in the hood here. So I wire wheeled this lip right here very well because right where the bumps of that rubber strip that are on the cab push on this side over here, it looked like there was some rust down inside those grooves. It looked like it got painted over at one time or another. So I went ahead and wire wheeled all that off. I'll take the DA with some 220 on it and I'll just sand this up real nice and feather that out so when we get the primer on there it'll blend together real nice. Then I'm going to go over a few other spots over here. I found a little dent right here that doesn't show on the other side because like I told you this truck has some body filler on the other side, this hood, so we're not going to mess with that. So let me get this DA'd up real quick. We're going to get this thing cleaned up. I'm going to get all the junk that I just wire wheeled off loose and falling around and all these wires laying around that didn't stick in me. And then I think we're ready to start tacking it off and get some primer mixed up. Okay guys, I got the primer mixed up real well. It's Evercoat's Feather Fill. It's been sitting a little while, so I was careful to stir it up very, very carefully. I spent maybe 10 minutes stirring this up, make sure it was very well combined. You want to make sure if it's been sitting around, you stir it up really, really good, okay? And it's cool in the shop. It's only about 44, 45 degrees, so we're going to kick the hardener up a little bit higher. This stuff wants 2% by volume, and I've got about, I don't know, 16 ounces in here, so that's 2% by volume. I calculated it out on my phone. It was about 0.32 ounces. So this container is 22 cc's. I think that comes out to about 3/4 of an ounce. So basically we put half of this in there. That's going to be more than enough hardener. When it's cooler, it takes a little bit more hardener to get it to kick. Once this is sprayed, I will roll it out in the sun and let it cook a little bit out there. Tomorrow's supposed to be a really sunny day, so I'll park it out there in the sun and let it outgas really nice as well. So let's get some of this in here, get it mixed up, and start spraying. Okay, that's about half right there. And you need to read the instructions because different primers, polyester primers, take a different amount. So you got to make sure you follow whatever you're using. If you're using one brand or type and you're used to it, and then you switch to something else, make sure you research it and figure it out very carefully because you want to make sure that you catalyze it properly. Otherwise, you're going to be over there with paint stripper trying to get it off because it didn't sit up all the way, or lacquer thinner or something. So I'm going to stir this up thoroughly and make sure it's well combined. And then we'll get it in the strainer and start spraying. Okay guys, I got it moved out to the edge of the shop just so I don't want to cover up a bunch of stuff just for a little quickie primer job. So I've tacked it off, blown it off, tacked it off, blown it off again. I even tacked off the body filler on the front here on the outside. If I've got enough primer left, I'm going to go ahead and get just a little bit of coat on there just to you know, help us along when we flip the hood over and get to work on the other side. So let me get the respirator on and start spraying some primer and get this thing done for the day. Okay, we'll get started right here on the body filler just to get it going. It's going to take 2 coats right here. That's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to go ahead and get all the hard to reach areas. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Looks like it's flashing off right here at the body filler, so I'll get a little bit more right here. That looks pretty good. With it glossed up like this, I can see some little dents we're going to have to glaze in, but all in all, it looks pretty good. Let's get a little primer on this front piece here. Okay. It's I got a little bit left in the gun, so I'm going to let it flash off a little bit, and then we're going to hit any trouble spots I see that have some, you know, sand scratches, stuff like that, and then we'll clean the gun, roll this thing out in the sun, and let it set off. Okay, guys, all done. Gun is clean. A few things popped up, like I mentioned. We got a little dent right here, a little spot over there, and I'm sure once we sand it, a few other things will show up. But we got a nice, good base coat of polyester primer on here, and it looks so much better just getting it all one color and you know, kind of cleaning it up and getting all that janky stuff off there. And this polyester primer is really good about sealing in that old paint. It's probably some rattle can. Who knows what the red underneath was? Could have been lacquer, but we got it all sealed in. So the next step for this will be doing some sanding, filling some spots that show up, and getting this ready that much closer to getting some color and clear on it. So I'm really happy the way it's looking, and we just got to wait a little bit, and then we can get to work on this thing again. Okay, guys, that pretty much wraps up this video on getting the underside of the hood for that 1950 Chevy truck cleaned up, sanded, prepped, and then primed. I'm really happy the way it looks. This thing is going to look really nice underneath when the hood's up and everybody's staring at that nice clean engine Darren has. So we're moving right along on this thing. I really appreciate all the viewers I have. I'd like to ask a favor. If you're watching this, send me a comment. It really helps promote the channel on YouTube, and it can maybe help some of my views. And I really appreciate all my regular viewers. You guys are awesome. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the thumbs up. It really helps keep me motivated and keep me going on all this stuff. So thanks for joining me here at Foothill Paint and Fabrication. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already, and mash that bell icon so you get notifications every time we release a new video. We'll see you on the next one.